Right. So we're going to talk about minimum viable brands and what they are. So a minimum viable brand is a pretty interesting concept, especially for social media, where we're really looking for high quality branding, and a minimum viable brand sort of meets the basic standards so that it's used. But the idea is you don't have to invest in a designer or any cost to do it. And the way we're going to do this is you're going to make a copy of the SSS visual branding worksheet, which is your main worksheet document that you are going to go through while we talk about and create your minimum viable brand. And you're also going to use this minimum viable brand standards book, which I've supplied as a Canva template. Now, you can open up this template in your free Canva account and you can start customizing it to your needs. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Now, the minimum viable brand is actually something that's based on the Lean Startup. It's basically so minimal enough to be a branding standard that you'd use, but obviously not super hard for you to establish. And the idea of branding is that really it should be done first. It really is a valuable investment. Minimum viable branding does not say don't get good branding. It says have brand standards. And if you can't afford to pay for them up front, then develop your own brand standards that later on, when you have a bit more money, you can get a graphic designer or a commercial designer or a UX designer to come in and do something really super beautiful for you. So I'm going to show you some examples of visuals on social. This is an Australian fashion brand called Savo Skirt. But you see what is so nice about their branding is they use these sort of beautiful neutrals, and the same neutral gelato colours are reflected in their Instagram feed. Their graphics kind of also reflect those soft colours. They use a serif font here. They offer a sans serif font as well. And then when you go over to their Facebook, you will also see that they use similar posts. I mean, it would be nicer if the video went the whole length of the Facebook banner. But they use similar and similar styling. So they're repurposing, and that's an example of a social strategy, right? You cope, you create once and publish everywhere, but ideally you're tailoring it to each platform. So let's take a look at some Commonwealth Bank's branding, because obviously the big brands use branding to their advantage, and that's what social media strategy is about. It's about trying to use some of the tactics and strategies of the big brands to help you inform your brand. Now, interestingly, Commonwealth Bank is currently caught between two brands. It's got this new fluoro yellow that has replaced its old golden yellow, which you can see in this video. And the reason I wanted to show you that is that that's what happens with brands. They develop over time. And obviously, you know, whoever invented the golden yellow of the Commonwealth Bank is probably very sad to see that it's now a very fluoro yellow, but that's the nature of branding. It changes and evolves. And the idea is that it doesn't jar the consumer too much. So you'll know it's Commonwealth Bank. Now, this is Commonwealth Bank on LinkedIn, and this is going to be Commonwealth Bank on Twitter. And again, you can see the pop of the fluoro yellow. You can see their use of video in Twitter. And you can just see generally it's similar. So it looks the same on LinkedIn or Twitter, but it's not identical. And that's the whole point. So anyway, let's get back to your minimum viable brand. What you are going to do with your minimum viable brand is go through this worksheet and start thinking about your look and feel. So I've given you some conflicting statements here to help guide your decision making. You know, are you masculine or feminine? Are you youthful or mature? Are you luxurious or affordable? You know, have a think about some of these issues, and then think about your colors. And because you're going to be doing this yourself, basically you want to stick with mostly very basic color schemes, you know, mostly blacks, mostly navies, or mostly whites or neutrals. And then you want to choose just two colors. Same with fonts, you just want to choose two, either a sans serif or a serif font. and maybe one highlight font of an ornate script or maybe a retro block font. And then think about your photography or video style. You know, what photos are you going to use? Are you going to take them yourself? If so, I recommend just choosing one great filter and using that on every photo. You'll obviously need to resize photos if you do that. Have photos to use, that's fantastic, or you can pay a photographer. The alternative is there's some royalty-free photo libraries you can use as well. And then you're going to come up with a one-sentence visual branding statement. And what you will do then is you'll start applying that to some of your example posts and visual ideas. In Canva, you will then have this brand standard yourself. This is the copy. You can name it and you can say, my brand standards and guidelines. You can name this document and you can start tailoring it to what you like. So these are my examples. In this document, you can tailor this to your own brand. So I've put my examples in there and you can tailor it to yours. So your font might actually be Helvetica. And then you might actually also like Helvetica. I think it's called Nully. I don't know how to pronounce that. And then you'll choose and document them. And actually maybe the script font you want is going to be, let's go up to Canva, they have quite a few nice fonts. You might choose, actually for script, I'm going to use Architect's Daughter, which is a very handwriting type of font. And you'll put this here like this. And you'll document it. And same with the hex code colors. What colors do you want? I reckon sticking to 2 and make one of them black or a navy, maybe one of them a white and one of them a pop color that you like. Logos get really hard to do for free. I've been very lucky. I've got some beautiful logo designs. Canva has a logo maker. There are a lot of free logo makers on the web and there's more detail in your training on what to do with logos. The most important thing is to sum up your brand's visual style according to what you've worked with in the workbook and maybe get some examples and put these into your guidelines. It's also about defining the photography style. So, you know, my photography style is very street, a lot of graffiti patterns. I've documented them there and my headshots look like this. And then I do a lot of diagrams and so on. I've documented that. And you would do the same. So depending on what your brand is, you just end up with some really great guidelines that you can keep referring back to. So even when you find cute things that you really, really like, you say no, like a good person, and you stick to what you want your branding to be, because that's the whole point of a minimum viable brand. So Boohoo is an example of an American worldwide e-com brand, and it does these beautiful little gelato colors as well, this sort of green and pink. So it uses its fun flavored colors in a really cute way, very consistent. The graphics, you know, help explain their sales and the other things they're trying to promote, and then that's repeated in their quote elements. But you can see that branding is a really, really key part of social media. So I certainly hope you've got some great material and some great ideas to go forward with and make your own minimum viable brand. Enjoy.